more demand for students to come to Nottingham, but we can't continuously expand. So there's a constraint there. There's an increasing need for global approach to research, as I mentioned earlier on, to generate more citations, more impact. Enabling factors, because if you say, oh, that's a good thing, but if you don't have the local policy to allow you to do that, that's empty, isn't it? So in terms of Malaysia, the 2020 vision basically encourage foreign PhD providers to go to Malaysia. And in terms of China, 2003 law makes sure that's possible. And secondly, we have strong vision and leadership from the UK in terms of university level, and to see the benefit in terms of longer-term prospect for the university. And for Asia, the culture is such that the speed of action is very fast. They value education, so we think Asia is a good place to set up campuses. Of course, strength and economic development here. So the concept is a UK-style education in terms of curriculum, QA systems, and language. The Nottingham in order to and we actually provide leadership initially from seconded staff from the UK. And we have a multi-campus sort of school system. So basically, for example, civil engineering at the moment, we have a UK school or department. We also have a UK, Malaysia school and China school. So they are basically one school with 3 locations. So in terms of QA process, so the UK will have an overall quality, make sure we are consistent. And the student and staff mobility both ways, we encourage that. Actually 3 ways now. So Malaysia, China, and the UK. So we invest to encourage staff to travel between the campuses and students as well. And we have a community for those 2 campuses, staff and students. In Malaysia, about 40% of the students are coming from Malaysia. In China, it's about 10%. So we want to increase that percentage to make sure they have a truly international experience. So they are research intensive, that's fundamental, I think, in order to sustain our success in Asia. Of course, what we offer is a UK in style, but something can learn from Malaysia, from China, from the region as well. In terms of implementations, legally, both campuses are owned by joint venture companies with so that's needed. Each campus will have an academic provost, has the overall responsibility for running those 2 campuses. They are not for profit joint ventures, so you have surplus, but they've got to be invested in the campus. We have branch campuses in and the provost sit on the Global Nottingham Management Board. PVC International, that's me, has overall sight of the campuses in terms of integration and overall governance. Academic matters are managed by the UK, as I said. Quality assurance is determined by the UK QAA agency. It's important for us to work hard to market international campuses to our students in the UK. Doing that, when we have the first contact with applicants, telling them we've got those 2 wonderful campuses, there are opportunities for them to spend a period there. And we provide clear and reliable information on the cultural experience. What we find is we get the student who got the experience in international campuses to tell other students how wonderful they are. That's more effective than we are going to tell them. Embedding opportunities into academic programs, as I said earlier on, not just limited to certain subject areas, but be embedded in all disciplines. We're trying to remove financial barriers, so by offering scholarship and also working with industries such as BP to highlight the added value of international experience. So also international campuses to develop the global skill set for the students, so the upward mobility, student mobility with integrated in summer schools. that sort of perspective. So we need to build that into the academic program for different departments, different schools. And those are valuable opportunities, and also with national, international business, because in Asia, because the economy is growing, so there are a lot of opportunities to work with the industry. So that's what we can get, that we couldn't probably in the UK. There are a lot of multinational companies part of the world as well. So we encourage inter-campus staff mobility, because if you don't do that, so the relationship between the campuses and the home campuses cannot be that good. Exposure to other cultures and ways of thinking will also add value in the global job market. So let's talk a little bit on research. I think I said research activity is a key to sustain the success. From the very beginning, it's not just for teaching and learning. Okay? Because in this part of the world, reputation is so important. So we need to maintain that, build up the reputation, then you can sustain of a good student and also good faculty, good academic staff. So universities in China and Malaysia, they are recognized as local universities for funding purposes. So they can apply for funding from their own countries. And we focus on areas of interest in Malaysia and China. Got to be a demand, got to be a for that sort of research. And also got to be areas where we are good, we have strength and expertise. We have increased our portfolio over the last few years. In terms of PhD student number, in the Malaysia campus we have over 350, so that's quite a significant number. In China, we are only allowed to supervise PhD students. In year 2009, we were only 200 PhD students. I'll just give you two examples of major research initiatives. In Malaysia, the research center to support POP for the Future project, which we obtained £24 million from the Malaysian government for that project. In China, we set up an International Academy for Marine Economy and Technology. We obtained £25 million from local government to support that sort of research. So that's a POPs for the Future we set up 3 years ago, and we joined the host of that center. So this is really, really important. Research to underutilized crops. So that fitting with the global food security thing. The International Academy for Marine Economy and Technology, because Ningbo has one of the largest ports in the world. Certainly we have developed the vision, we negotiate with the local government, and they realized this is really important, so they were willing to support the project by funding the project. They support actually £25 million over the next 5 years. So where are they? So if you look at Malaysia, that's over there, and China, Ningbo campus is south of Shanghai. It's about 2.5 hours drive. We start our operation in Malaysia. That was the building we used initially before we built our own campus not far from KL. So that was the site at the beginning of 2004. In September 2005, I had a campus built. And 2 years ago, the British Prime Minister David Cameron visited the campus, and also with the Malaysian Prime Minister Najib, who actually studied economics in Nottingham. So David Cameron said he represents the British, the best of Malaysia. So that was the site for our Ningbo campus in spring 2005. And September 2005, we had the campus built basically within a year. 3 years ago now, Chinese Premier Wen Jiabao paid a surprise visit to our campus in Ningbo. He was interested in talking to the students, not to the staff. So he was really impressed by the quality and confidence and critical thinking of the students we had over there. So finally, I just want to reflect a bit on Nottingham's experience. So I have give you quite a bit of information. I want to start off by talking about challenges, I think, in terms of developing a global university, in particular developing campuses. I think first one is the staff and student engagement with international opportunities. So I think it's not as easy as you would think. Many people tend to be conservative. And also management talent and capacity. Certainly for campuses, we need to make sure that we have that sort of integration between the campuses and the home campuses to make sure to maintain quality, to make sure to offer the same learning outcome. So that's very, very important. There has been a shift in institutional cultures. At the very beginning, it was less engaged, but now actually most colleagues are engaged. They can see the value in the longer term. Of course, in terms of systems, there are challenges, process as well, because in the local sense, in China, they get their own systems. In Malaysia, it's the same. So I think the UK got their own system as well. So we need to integrate them wherever possible. Exposure to new levels of risk, of course. A lot of things which probably are outside of our control, so I think we need to assess that and try to mitigate. There's a high level of management overhead, so the leadership got to travel an awful lot, the staff got to move around campuses, those are very, very important. But in terms of benefits, of course, for reputational gain, it's important. So we have been working hard to make sure that our international activities is a clear USP for us. So I think we have probably achieved that. So that certainly can enhance the students in terms of job prospect. That's very, very important, even though they may not realize that. So we need to help them to realize that. So we need to work with industry as well to make sure that they can convince the student. So I think the government, the industry, working together, trying to encourage the study abroad, which is a good thing and effective. And plenty of research and business engagement opportunity, as I demonstrated early on. So in the UK, it's very difficult to get £25 million to set up a research center, for example. But we can do that in China and in Malaysia. Network buildings and political influence. And finally, I think having the two campuses, developing a lot of international activities in the UK, certainly have transformed the University of Nottingham over the last 20 years. I think we have also transformed or influenced the Nottingham as a city as well, but also influenced the HE sector in the UK to some extent. We have contributed and reform of HE sector in China and Malaysia, I think. So I think those are the benefits. So finally, basically, in short, at the University of Nottingham, we think globally, act locally, and engage personally. Thank you very much for your attention.
So on your behalf, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank Professor Yu for a very insightful lecture. I myself am from the University of Nottingham, and I can confirm that the university is completely transformed from what it was 3 decades ago, when it was a small English university in a small English city. Over the last 30 years, of course, the world has changed beyond recognition with the end of the Cold War and the opening up of India and China. And I think University of Nottingham does epitomise the response to globalisation. It genuinely is a global organisation. I've had the good fortune to visit both of those campuses and see them in action. I'd like to now call on Professor Hung Yi Chow, the Vice President International for the University, to confer a token of appreciation on Professor Yu. Okay, thank you very much. Now, if I can just ask you to remain in your seats, we're going to go straight into the QS squared debate, which will begin momentarily. We'll just need, if you can bear with us, a minute or two just to set up on stage. Okay, thank you.
Kim, is the voting system already? Is the voting system?
Yes, we are distributing the voting system.
So we're distributing it now. What about the instructions on the So can you just do that announcement now? And tell them not to vote until I say. Ladies and gentlemen. Right, it's working. Hi, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Kevin Downing. I'm about to chair the QS squared debate. Thank you, Alan. I see you here. I didn't manage to find you this morning. We have 4 combatants for the debate, and right now the QS staff are handing out which allows you, the audience, to vote on the debate before we start, but not until I say, please. And then you will get another opportunity to vote at the end. And we'll see if we as academics are as open-minded as we always pretend we are. My experience, apart from the last one in Maple, is most academics are not as open-minded as they think they are. A is yes and B is, A is for and B is no. Okay. This is a little bit of technology. Can I just check, has everyone got one of these? If you haven't, yeah, can you put your hand up and look angry, and the QS people will bring one around. You're not having one, you're on the panel. Okay, we've got a few minutes, so let's just wait for all those to be distributed. I'm going to introduce you, while they're being distributed, to our distinguished who are actually taking part in this debate. And can I say, I hope you'll give them a very warm round of applause, because it's very brave of them. Because what happens is, they only have 5 minutes, either to propose, second, or oppose. They have 5 minutes. And I am rooting. At the end of that 5 minutes, they will get not 1 second more. They are not allowed to use PowerPoints. Now, the reason I'm going to be ruthless is because I want you, the audience, the distinguished delegates here, to engage in the debate. So immediately after they've each had their 5 minutes, I'm going to come to you, and they're going to walk around with the bell will ring. Have I had 5 minutes, Kim? The bell will ring, and I will come to you and ask you for your opinions. When I ask you, I'd like you to stand up, say who you are, say which university or where you're from, and then you have 5 sentences. Very good discipline. We're always telling our students to be concise. You will have 5 sentences to make your point, and I'll be counting sentences. Okay, so we'll see if you guys can do what you're always telling your students to do, make your point quickly and concisely. All right, let's introduce our distinguished panelists. The motion before this group today is that universities should only produce graduates that employers. Universities should only produce graduates that employers want. Now, this is a deliberately provocative statement, obviously, but it is one that each one of us in this hall probably faces almost every day. Questions about curriculum, whether we should keep this program or this course, how useful this particular course is. And the debate rages in our universities and in our societies. And this is a microcosm of that debate today. So, first and foremost, I would like to invite the proposers onto stage. First of all, if you give them a warm round of applause, Dr. Alison Lloyd, who's the Associate Dean at our sister university, the Hong Kong Polytechnic University in Hong Kong. Alison. Hi. No problem. I'm going to ask Alison to sit on the inner seat on the left, my left-hand side, your right-hand side. Thank you. And then Alison is ably supported by what has turned into a bit of a Hong Kong team from our other sister institution. We're sandwiched between these two. My friend and colleague, Mr. Michael Fung. Michael is Director of Planning and Institutional Research at Hong Kong UST. Hi, Mike.
Science and technology.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry? Okay, I've been told to drag it on a bit because the projector's not working, so if I'm not being concise, it's not my fault. Okay, opposing the motion, we're very grateful to have Ms. Ailsa Lamont, Pro-Vice Chancellor International at Central Queensland University in Australia. Thanks, Ailsa. Inner seat. And last but not least, an old friend of mine, the former education editor at the Times, former editor of Times Higher Education Supplement, author of the Times Good University Guide, and a member of the executive board of QS World University Rankings in the United Kingdom, Mr. John O'Leary. Thank you, John. Yeah. John's taking his time walking across the stage while they get the projector working. Can you dance, John? Okay, now, as soon as the projector is working, have the pre-vote before anybody speaks. You can see from the hive of activity just over here that they're clearly on the job. I've got a thumbs up. There's a light. Okay, you might like to be thinking that whilst this is happening, what you think, whether you think universities should only produce graduates that employers want, or whether produce graduates irrespective of what employers want. Unfortunately, there are no nuances here. You either say yes, in which case, when I ask you, you will press the A button on here, which is also marked 1. And if you want to oppose the motion, you press the B button, which is also marked 2. Okay? And as soon as this projector works, I will ask you to press the buttons. Presumably it was working just now. Is it going to take 5-10 minutes? Because if so, I'm going to start the debate and we'll have to vote after the speakers have first spoken. Somebody talk to me, please. You think you'll do it in 5 minutes, or sure? Okay, you get 5 minutes to think about this. Maybe I'll take a few comments from the audience before inviting the people on the panel to speak. Anyone have any comments before we start about whether they think we should only produce graduates that employers want? Any comments? Yeah, gentleman here. Can someone pass a microphone? I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be with you.
Hello everybody, I am Dr. D.K. Subharti University. The question is whether the university produce graduates who are employable. It's a question of quality. We are in the era of globalization and we are coming to the industry and university partnership. It's fine that the university should produce employable graduates, but at the same time, how they are socially responsible.
Okay.
My question is, they are socially responsible, whether they join the university.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there for two reasons. Thank you for that. Interesting comment. One, this is... Two, that was more than 5 sentences. So, thank you for allowing me to make that point. I will get people to stick to the 5-sentence rule. We will come back to your question, sir. And thank you for stepping into the breach for me.
Thank you.
Okay, now, first thing to do, take your... I'm a dinosaur when it comes to IT, but take your electronic device, clicker, and if you agree with the motion, if you support the motion, you press A, which is also marked 1 on here. And if you disagree, you press B, which is also marked 2. Are we ready? You can vote now, please. Don't abstain. That's a cop-out. No. You can see the responses coming in. 141, 142. Yeah, come on, people, press the button. Plenty of time to think about it. 155. What is it? Are your thumbs slow? Those of you that have only just voted? Thinking. Did I not give you enough time? Okay, I'm going to say last votes now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If you haven't voted, tough. Okay, can we see the... Right. So the proposers, these proposers for the motion, have a bit of a tough uphill climb in front of them, but they're both brave people. I know them from Hong Kong, and so I'm sure they'll be very convincing. So 28% support the motion, 72% against. Without further ado, I'm going to ask Alison, who is proposing the motion that universities should only produce graduates that employ. Her 5 minutes, Kim, will start now.
Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I am here to argue for the motion that universities should only produce graduates that employers want. And the scope of this motion is about universities boosting the employability of our students. By producing graduates that employers want, universities play an important role in contributing to increases in productivity, which are a key concern for growth and a concern close to the heart for many policymakers around the world. But not only do universities impart behavioral, cognitive, and technical skills that make graduates more effective in the workplace, but they provide the skills that will apply knowledge and adapt technologies, and these are the critical forces to driving productivity. But despite this important contribution that universities make, today we are in a time of irony. In today's countries, we have seen rises in increasing student student enrollments, but we are also seeing very high levels of youth unemployment. And yet, paradoxically, employers are telling us today that they cannot find enough people to fill entry-level vacancies. In a recent report from the OECD released in 2012, it's estimated that in fact 1 in 8 of 18 to 24-year-olds are not in employment, education, or training. And in 2013, McKinsey released a report that was conducted in 9 countries, and up to 40% of employers tell us that the reason why they can't fill entry-level positions is because they cannot find people with the right skills. So just what exactly are the right skills that employers are looking for, and why of universities to fulfill this? First of all, employers are often looking for what we call the 21st century skills. And universities are increasingly expected to produce very versatile graduates that have many capabilities, such as the ability to communicate, collaborate, solve problems, think creatively, critically, and innovate. Employers are also known to even sometimes care about students possessing special characteristics related to good citizenship, like morality and social responsibility. But it is employers that are now expecting that universities be the one to shape these skills in the students that we release out there. In essence, they want students that can hit the ground running, essentially. But at the same time, employers today are spending less on training their staff. And it is the features of the modern-day workplace that prevent employers from investing heavily in human capital development. Today, rarely do our graduates stay in one position for very long. In fact, it's shown that fresh graduates stay in their first job for no more than 18 months. And there is also something that is very certain today, is that there is greater variety in terms of the career options that a particular degree could lead to. Other than certain professions such as medicine, where students will go into the profession for which they have studied. In fact, today, students that say study design, engineering, could just as easily go into jobs related to healthcare, teaching, as much as jobs that they have related, that are more related to the discipline that they study for. So the fewer certainties about what a career will lead to, what career a degree will lead to, will mean that employers expect the graduates that we send out there are already prepared for the workplace. So what this means for universities is that we have a duty to equip students with the skills that they need to perform well. But it's not just employers that are prepared, it is also the students themselves that are requiring this. In a recent report released in the United States, 92% of students say they want a degree that has internship or work placement as part of their university experience. It is simply just not enough to leave university just knowing your subject matter. But students, on one hand, they want jobs and degrees at the end of their degrees. On the other hand, universities are expecting us to send graduates in that are productive employees of their organization. So if our graduates are to be successful in the world of work, universities need to get a grip on what we call the employability agenda to equip students with the tools that they need to succeed. So in conclusion, the journey, in fact, from education to employment is a complicated one, with many different routes that could be taken. But one thing is certain today, that some young people are getting lost along the way. And as universities, we have a duty. We have a duty to help alleviate this problem by producing graduates with portable skills that transcend specific jobs or industries, but instead prepare them for mobility and the adaptability of the changing needs of the workplace. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You kept very much to time, Alison. Thank you. I was going to demonstrate my threatening walk towards you if you exceeded 5 minutes, but you didn't. Thank you very much. Now to speak opposing the motion, I'm pleased to welcome Elsa Lamont. And I guess, Elsa, you might want to come to this side of the podium.
To do some adjustments. That's better. Okay. Thank you, Chair, for this opportunity to speak. There are countless reasons why this proposition is demonstrably and fundamentally flawed, but time is short, so I'll focus on just 2 reasons. The first one is that to prepare only the graduates that employers want is impossible, impractical, if not impossible. And to do so, more importantly, to do so would actually be a failure of our responsibility as knowledge leaders and would be to the detriment of society as a whole. So let me start with my first point, the impracticality of this motion. Researchers predict, a point that the first speaker made, that 65% of today's primary school children will hold jobs that do not yet exist. That means, in other words, that around 2/3 of the people who are likely to come through our universities will go into roles who do not yet know what those jobs will look like and therefore cannot possibly know what skills will be required. Another statistic for you. US Department of Labor estimates put it that every school leaver now will have between 10 and 14 jobs by the time they reach the age of 38. So let's just think about those two statistics for a moment. What that means is that if this motion were correct, we would be educating now specifically and only to undertake these jobs that do not yet exist. But not only that, we would have to do that 14 times over per student just to accommodate the likely career they will have in the first half of their working lives. Now, I have the utmost respect for my academic colleagues, but I think that's a pretty tall order. So if we can't produce our graduates just for what employers think they might want, then what exactly is it that we can and should be doing? We should follow our true mission as universities, get back to the heart and core of what universities are about. We're communities of scholars where new knowledge is formed, boundaries are pushed, and new realities are conceived for the public good. We need moral imagination, that is, the humility to see the world as it really is, and the audacity to see the world as it could be. The world is more interconnected now than ever before, and it faces environmental, political, and economic challenges, as ever. But the difference now is that these challenges are against the technological change. It's our role as leaders in thought and knowledge education that we need to produce graduates who can adapt to those as yet unforeseeable challenges and produce students who are equipped to be problem solvers and who can do so as positive global citizens. A point that the previous speaker made, but I think we're extrapolating different meanings from that. Our task, therefore, is to develop more people who are better prepared to meet as many different unforeseeable challenges as possible. And as well as professional qualifications, we need to create in our graduates a set of skills which are adaptability, empathy, strong communication skills, intercultural intelligence, resilience, and the ability to work across disciplines. This means reconceptualizing our notions of graduate attributes and working backwards from there to adapt our teaching and learning and experiential opportunities for students accordingly. Now that is quite a challenge, but I would argue it's the only challenge that matters if we as universities are to remain relevant. The mindset of adaptability will give our students the opportunity to work as employees or as researchers or as entrepreneurs themselves. And a positive byproduct of this approach will be more employable graduates who will contribute to a stronger economy, and that is important. But it is not our role to be a glorified employment agency. By seeking to produce only the graduates that employers want, we would be restricting our field of vision in the near future, the present, the short term, limiting ourselves to a role as mere purveyors of knowledge, instead of looking to the future and trying to create and shape a more positive vision for the world. This motion would therefore be a catastrophic failure of our collective moral imagination and must therefore be opposed. Thank you.
Thank you, Elsa. Again, kept to time. Kim's hand was hovering over the bell then, so you came close, but very good. Thank you. Can I invite the seconder for the proposal, Mr. Michael Fung?
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I must thank our opposers for agreeing with the motion, other than the fact that you do not agree with the wording of the motion, because I'm going to unpack it for you, and you're going to see that almost every single point that you made is in support of the motion. First off, let's take a broader view about education. Education is about producing holistic individuals that are able to adapt to the changing environment, the globalization forces, and the needs of our society and economy. So if you take a look at the motion, we did not say vocational education. It said universities should produce graduates that employers want. So maybe you have a little bit of problem with the word only, and let me unpack that for you as well. If you turn that motion around, then you were saying that employers should produce graduates that employers do not want. Would you agree with that motion? Absolutely not. Universities are institutions. Academics, fellow academics, we are employed. We're employed by universities. We're employees. Would you employ a faculty that's poor in teaching, really doesn't do much research, doesn't have a heart for students, is not passionate about, just contributing in his or her role? You wouldn't. So you are an employer too. And what kind of graduates do you want? Universities, you want good teachers that are able to connect to students, prolific researchers, those with a heart of service to the community and the world at large. So we must, as universities, produce graduates the employers want. Now, in addition to that, just consider this. Students want good jobs. We know that, especially in Asia, where, that was only 1 minute, especially in Asia, where there's job-oriented mindsets of students and parents. They want jobs. They want good jobs. We must prepare them for that. I'm not talking about vocational education alone. We must prepare them to adapt, to have the skills in this uncertain world, to be ready for the next job. We need to give them a broader set of skills. That's our responsibility as universities. So you are supporting a motion by saying that we need all those skills. We need that broader sense of education, and we need to deliver on that. Employers want good graduates. I just used the example of universities. Why are we here? We want to promote our university. We want to recruit good faculty. We want to be one of the best world-class universities in the world. So employers want good graduates. The economy and society wants a good match between graduates and employment. One of the reasons for structural unemployment is that universities produce graduates that don't fit with the needs of the economy, and that leads to lots of social problems. And the continued support for universities in the eyes of the public depends strongly on the ability for universities to remain relevant, to produce what the society and the economy needs. So, in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, I would say that this motion is fairly moot. Universities should not only produce graduates that employers want, we must produce graduates that employers want. I rest my case. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michael. You stuck to time as well. It's getting boring. I can't intimidate anyone off. Let's see if John can go over time. Please welcome John O'Leary, who's speaking against the motion.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Let me say right from the start that no one wants to produce graduates that employers don't want. That would be a betrayal of students. It would be putting your institution at risk in the future, whether you're funded by governments who are desperate to have their students find jobs, or whether you're private and would soon be found out as a place that students don't want to go anymore. Does that mean that we on our side agree with the motion? Certainly not. When Michael says that it's just a matter of this little word only, well, only is the most important word in this motion. are we saying that we are only prepared to do what employers want in universities and not to fulfill the wider obligations that universities have traditionally held? You've already decided in your pre-vote that you don't think that, and I certainly wouldn't expect anyone in universities to think that. This motion implies that universities are not doing enough on the employability side. That may be true in some parts of the world that I haven't come across yet, but all the universities I know are obsessed with employability at the moment. There are employability modules, there are new courses, there is certification of extracurricular activities. Universities are desperate to do more to get their graduates into jobs, and I certainly don't think that they can be accused of falling down on that job at the moment. If anything, the employability agenda is beginning to distort some of the degree courses that I see around the world. Universities must be more than glorified training colleges. There are plenty of them at the moment, more of them every day it seems, and quite right too, because they're very important to any economy. But universities have to be about more than that. They're about broadening the mind, they're about preparing better citizens, not just employees, and they're about fostering personal development. If they do that, employers will benefit, and so will the country. But they're not all about producing graduates who fit first into their first job like a glove. That's not what universities are there for. We don't know, as we've heard from more than one of the speakers already, how many jobs, how many different types of jobs every graduate is going to have. We can't train them for all of them. That's employers' job. But that's exactly what employers are not doing at the moment. Certainly in the UK, when I went into journalism more years ago than I care to remember at the moment, there were a number of different graduate training schemes. They didn't expect me to come out of university having studied history and politics and be able to write a news story straight away. They had a 4-month training scheme to instill those skills. Now, employers don't want to pay for that, and do they want to pay for the university courses that are going to produce these rounded individuals on a plate for them? No, they don't. They're prepared to offer a bit of subsidy for the research and development activities that they're also not doing on the scale that they used to be doing, but they're not going to stump up extra money for universities just to dictate the curriculum from afar. Elsa says that we can't know the future needs of jobs that haven't been created yet. In my experience, employers don't really know what they want from universities, even in the jobs that they already have. In all the time I've been interviewing employers about what they want from universities, they've all been very clear that they don't like what they're getting. I remember writing a series on that very subject in the 1980s, and they didn't like what they were getting. And I can tell you they didn't like what they were getting 100 years ago as well, if you read the literature. But they're much less good at articulating exactly what they do want. It's normally a very generalized menu of soft skills, numeracy and literacy. It sounds a bit like a grown-up primary school. And if universities were to produce that, they would be accused immediately of dumbing down what they offer to undergraduates, and probably rightly so. There are some things that are going wrong with undergraduate education, or which they could have been, universities could have been criticised for over any number of years. There are too many scientists who are not very articulate and literate in putting across their inventions, discoveries, or indeed enthusiasm for their subject. There are too many arts graduates who come out without the skills of numeracy that they should have. But that's ever been the case, and I urge you not to narrow things even further by voting for this motion. Come with the commitment that you had before and vote against it.
Thank you, John. I'm just going to ask one more question of the panelists. I just want a kind of quick answer, then I'm going to throw it open to you. We've got a good 25 minutes to debate what is, I think, a very important topic. I'll start with Alison. Alison, are you working in the specialism that you did for your first degree?
No, not at all.
Okay, what was your first degree specialism?
Hotel management
And what specialism are you working in now?
in branding, marketing.
Okay, thank you. Mike, are you working...
You want the truth?
I want the truth, don't lie.
So I trained in computer engineering.
Right, you're definitely not working in the...
I am.
Really?
Psychology. I work with people, driving change.
Yeah, come on.
There
I'm
you
a
go.
planner like you, and I'm a psychologist.
There you go.
And
You're a clinical
I'm not
psychologist.
working in that discipline. Okay, Elsa,
No, I'm definitely not working in what I trained in.
tell us more.
I studied to become an interpreter and translator, and I studied Russian and German, and I'm very happy to have here representatives from Voronezh State University, where I spent a happy semester.
Okay, and what you're doing now?
Now I'm Pro Vice Chancellor International, so
Do you cover Russian?
well, it's part of international.
All right, thanks. John?
No, I did a politics degree, and indeed, anybody in the media would tell you that that's what they're looking for. They're looking for people rounded experience, and they look down on people with media studies degrees generally in the media.
Yeah, actually, I can see where the politics degree came in, given that John was the only one that overran his speaking slot of 5 minutes. Okay, let's open it up. Anyone here want to feel very strongly about any of the comments that have been made and want to? Good. Let's get a microphone over here, please. Thank you. Don't run too fast. Don't want you to fall down the stairs. Okay. 5 sentences after you've given your name and where you're from. It takes a while to warm up. Can people with the mics, can you keep them on so that when you, because there's a delay when you click them on.
All right.
Okay.
My name is Awang Bulgiba. I'm from the University of Malaya in Malaysia. 5 sentences. Firstly, this motion was exactly what the Ministry of Education in Malaysia was espousing for the last few years and still forms a VC's KPI in Malaysia. However, we have come to realize that this is not really conducive for an innovative environment. Thirdly, this proposal will not encourage entrepreneurship. Fourth, Google and all those startups would not exist if this motion was carried. And last, curiosity-driven fundamental research would be discouraged if this motion were carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Stay there. You were so good at sticking to the 5 sentences. I want to come back to you with a question. Why wouldn't Google exist if this motion was carried? Just tell me a bit more.
Because Google did what all the other search engines would not do, which was find a new way of doing things.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for that contribution. That's the way to deliver the 5 sentences. Very good. I have to number them. I'm counting anyway. And actually, although I'm an academic, I can count to 5. It's, okay. Anyone else like to make a comment? Yes. Gentleman over here. Let's hope we get quick mic here. Can you keep the mics switched on, please? Don't turn them off, because they take a while to warm up.
Hello. My voice is loud enough. I don't count that as a sentence. Jim Pounder from Lingnan University in Hong Kong, which is a liberal arts university. And I would say that the answer to the question is yes and no. If you conceive of what employers want as a narrow specialization, such as marketing and accounting, then the answer is no. But if you conceive of the transferable skills, such as leadership, communication, decision-making, problem-solving, and the ability to get on with people, then the answer is yes. And I wonder, Kevin, if you could just ask the panelists what is their view on my view.
Okay, I'll do that at the end, but they've already said, but thank you for that comment. Can I ask, is there anyone here who wants to speak strongly in support of the motion? Or are you all afraid? Oh no, well done. Someone with courage of their convictions at the back. Please get a mic. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Seiji from Kinki University. Today I'd like to vote for proposition. And the reason is, first, their argument was very statistical. I mean, they use data from OECD data. It is very clear. And more, I support in this round, we have to think about which is more important, the needs from students or university, or we have to think about the future needs. But in this case, I strongly wanted to listen the clearly of the future needs, why university study is needed for thinking about the future needs. That's why I'd like to vote for proposition. That is, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Your university's changed its name, hasn't it?
No, maybe from 2016,
Yeah.
from Kinki to Kindai. No more
I thought so,
Kinki.
yeah.
Yeah.
I thought either that or you'd changed jobs.
I think so, yeah.
Any other comments in support? Thank you. I'm trying to help these guys out here. Okay, a microphone here, please. If anyone would like to comment after this, can you show your hand now and we can get a mic to you ready? Nigel, he's already got it right.
I do agree with the second comment about it's also yes or no. If we identify the need of the employer, we should understand about the need which is in the time independent. If the time independent, including the morals, their responsibility, any human skill or something, which is time independent, we should provide for them. But for the time dependent, we cannot specify or precisely teach them because it will move on about the technology improvement. So this is the way that we try to think about what is the definition of the need.
Thank you. Nigel.
Yeah, just in support of the motion, I think I'd like to go back to a more extreme position. I think that the kind of traditional elite universities had a view that they were there to train the mind. They took no concern of what employers wanted. They trained students in classics, in Greek and Latin and so on. And I think that view is still quite widespread. My kind of criticism of it is that those universities are hugely selective. They take the top one or of society who already are highly intelligent and wealthy, and these people are naturally highly employable. And they go on to succeed and get jobs as presidents and so on. But we're in a world of mass higher education where typically 50% of the 18-year-olds go to university. And universities, if they're going to have those students succeed, they have to work really hard at creating the employability skills that give them the adaptability. So I'm in support of the motion.
Thanks, Nigel. I'm going to come back to you with a question, so don't switch it off. Your son's here with you. You know what I'm going to ask. You want your son to university. If I know you as a father, I think you want your son to study at university so that he has a very good prospect of a good job that's reasonably well paid and will provide him with financial security in the future.
Yes.
Yeah? Come on then. So
he's going to do history at Oxford and then go to Yale and become...
Right, okay. Okay. So, strange, isn't it? When we bring this to our own personal circumstances, it's much more difficult, you know, to say we produce graduates in the old way with transferable skills, because that's kind of scarier. This lady here's got a question, a comment. Microphone, please. Hello. The microphones have all oh, gentleman over here first, then I'll come to you, ma'am. So it seems to me that we might have one rule for our own children and be prepared to take greater risks perhaps with other people's children. I just put that out there to be controversial. But let's have from this gentleman. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. David Killick, Leeds Beckett University in the UK. And I'd like to pick holes, if I had enough sentences, with almost every word in there. First of all, I really don't think universities are in the business of producing graduates. It's the graduates who should be producing themselves. But the word I really want to focus on is the word want. This is picked up slightly here, that we don't know what employers will want or do want, and they don't know what they want now. But really, I want to argue that that word should be changed. Need. And what employers need is probably not what they want. They need students who are socially responsible, have a sense of sustainable practice, ethical approaches, and are able to communicate globally. So I'd like to ask for 2 changes in the name of the title.
Okay, so you can ask for them, and they're very sensible comments, but it will not be granted, I'm afraid. That is the motion agreed by the committee. But I think the point you make is well taken, and it's important that people will have their own want to add things, take things away, change wording. That's why we made it so stark. So thank you very much. I think good comments. Ma'am.
Yeah. Agnes Banyas, University of Melbourne. Yes. I am offering a practitioner's point of view because I am a careers practitioner and I work directly, I and my unit, we work directly with students. We need to remember that employers are like politicians, often they have a very short-term view. So we need to find out what they want at a time. Then we need to create opportunities for our students to develop skills concurrently with their academic skills and technical skills. Then we need to create opportunities, and I think this is probably one of the most important ones, create opportunities for them to apply these skills during their studies, test these practical skills, and the last one, to learn how to articulate these skills to employers, because often, that's what Nigel said, often our students have the skills and they don't know how to articulate it.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm just going to ask you one follow-up question. So do you support or oppose?
I'm a supporter of both, without the only.
Okay, so if this is the only statement, you'll be asked to vote. So you have to jump down on one side. I love this with all academics. When are we ever say yes or no? It's so rare. I guess this is the business we're in, like lawyers, politicians, and media people. You know, it's kind of the business we're in. Okay, this lady here wanted to make a comment, but there's a comment from a gentleman here first. Is there? Yes. No, this lady here then.
I'm Lok Bun from Taylor's University, Malaysia. I think universities should only produce graduates who are productive and who can add values to the society, including employers. And I think universities should only educate graduates for life, including being whether they choose to be a productive employees or choose to create job opportunities for others in the society. And from life experience, I don't see contradiction between becoming a productive employees as well as living a meaningful life. So that's my comment. Thanks.
Thank you, lady here. And the gentleman at the back afterwards.
Hello, my name is Martha. I'm from the University of Guadalajara from Mexico. It's a pleasure to be here with you all. And I would say that it would also depend on the nature of the university. In our case, we are a public university committed to the social environment and to develop our own country and our own zone. We have 15 campuses, for example, and we have a huge investment from Asian companies, and we are into the business of and assembling. That's the whole country. But I would think then that it depends on what do we want to do as a country, and the university should follow or not follow that path. Perhaps our universities should be more concerned about not only making graduates or having graduates that comply with the employer's needs, but also if we need to have our own research so that we can have Mexican enterprises such as Samsung, or are we importing technology or are we able to export technology?
Thank you, ma'am. I think that raises some very important issues that are in this statement. One is, what about countries like Saudi Arabia that is starting to try and turn itself away from, and Brunei, away from reliance upon natural resources to provide a knowledge-based society with a more diverse range of income generators and so on and so forth. Often, universities that are very large in Saudi Arabia, 50,000 students is not uncommon for a university, they not necessarily have the jobs anyway to employ those graduates at the moment. So tied up in this whole idea is the differences between our and our countries. I'm in Taiwan, I can say this. Some governments actually perhaps don't want people to be too free-thinking, which was perhaps one of the original aims of ancient universities. Other governments want to have a significant influence on what we teach. I mean, even in Hong Kong, I expect my colleagues to know this, there's a piece of legislation called Cap 320 in the Hong Kong Ordinance, and it prohibits any outside institution from registering itself as a university in Hong Kong. They can register their programs and so operate in Hong Kong, but they can't register themselves. And if they register their programs, they are obviously closely monitored by the Hong Kong Council for Academic Accreditation to ensure the quality of those programs. Now, the reason behind that is very straightforward. The reason behind that is to stop groups coming into Hong Kong that would disrupt civil society. And higher education has always been historically a source of such groups around the world. Okay, let's go to this gentleman here.
My name is Han-soo Kim of Sejong University from Korea. Employers are so diverse nowadays. So whose appetite we universities should aim to satisfy is a key issue. I believe it's all down to maintain flexibility in our teaching curriculum, which is always challenging. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good comment. Any other comment? Oh, yes, ma'am. And then I'll come back to you, sir, and then I'll come back to you, sir. So we have 1, 2, 3 comments. We're warming up now. You've got 10 minutes left.
Okay, thank you. Afiza, I'm from University Kuala Lumpur. Has been a great debate so far, yeah? My sharing, and this doesn't include the 5 sentence, okay? A scenario. When we first started to look at reports from employers claiming that universities don't produce the employers that they need, we panic, the universities panic, and then it's put inside our brains that, oh no, we need to do something. But when I graduated, I didn't blame the university, my university. I made it upon myself to learn the skills. So that, my point is the attitude. And first one, changes are happening really fast, super fast. So students are getting more impatient. They read Facebook, they read information at bits and pieces. Information is given to them in bits and pieces, so they're not able to think critically. They decide too brashly. But when we give, when universities produce the choice one, we tend to spoon feed them too much, we need to make them learn to fall and get up and get their hands dirty, so that they're more proactive in terms of searching for the knowledge and skills. Unfortunately, as universities, we have to teach them all that, the skills, knowledge, and attitude. And that's what they are lacking, and we have to prepare them for that. And then, however they, however they survive in the real world, well, experience is the best teacher, right?
Okay. Thank you for that comment. This gentleman.
Hi, I'm Xiaoli Ding from the Hong Kong Polytechnic University. I support the motion because my colleague actually Edison is on the stage. Actually, I'm supporting this not only because of that. I think let's face it, graduates are products of universities. Okay, nobody wants to produce something that produce some product that's not useful. Okay, if our graduates are useful, then somebody will take them. And those who take them, they will be the employers. Okay, these employers can include self-employer and also future employers. Okay, that's my point.
Thank you. Thank you for that point. Now, this is very interesting because that is diametrically opposed to what our colleague over there was saying. And I guess the question I would put to you, just to follow up, is the problem with that is who decides what's useful?
I think as teachers, we should make sure our graduates are useful. Then when we design our curriculum, then we should keep this in our mind. So that's our responsibility.
You see, the thing is, say you're not very keen on history, or you're not very keen on fine art or music. Somebody, surely, some governments might decide that it's not useful to have one of those things, in which case then we're only producing engineers and biologists and chemists. Somebody might decide that psychology is not useful, it's potentially disruptive to civil society, or that sociology is not valuable. So I guess all I'm doing, I don't really want a response, but I'm just throwing that out because I think what's happened here is there's the word product is quite interesting. This gentleman's actually saying we're student-centered. We're not actually producing graduates, they're producing themselves, and we're facilitating that by providing the right learning environment. And I do understand where you're coming from, because in Asia there is a different approach, because the tiger economies are in a certain stage of further development, and there is generally a very different view. So I just throw that out there. Thank you for your comment. Very, very good.
I think, if I can, I think broadly speaking, even history, for example, that can be useful if somebody studying history, because the knowledge from history can be used for the future also. Somehow people need these, employers need these kind of people, different kind of people, not only engineers.
Okay, thank you. This gentleman here, you've waited patiently, sir. I'm sorry.
Thank you. I'm C.K. Chen, also from the Hong Kong Polytechnic University. I want to bring this House back to the motion of the debate, because we're here for the debate. We're not here for discussion. The debate says universities should only produce graduates that employers want. It does not say that produce graduates that immediate employers want. If the motion is about immediate employers, we might consider opposing it. Employment for a graduate leaving university at the age of 25, he would have something like 40 years of employment. If we consider that, I think that motion must be and should be supported, because the employment is long-term. Thank you.
Thank you for that spirited support for your colleague from PolyU. It's an inside job, this. You've set them up, haven't you? Okay. Any other? Ma'am. Yes, please. Can we have a microphone over here, and then I'll come over here. Wow, everyone's waking up now. Oh, Kingsley. Then we'll go to Kingsley third. Okay. You may even have the final word, Kingsley.
Is that working? Hi, hello, Iman Muhammad, Ifat University, Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Okay, so I am supporting the opposition for that statement. Well, in a way, I think it's despite the fact that I think only is the problem in that statement, university should produce graduates that employers want. We can equip them with the necessary skills that they would need, basic skills, but I don't think they can equip them with all the skills. Think about the life of an employee. At the beginning of your life is not like in the middle of your life, at the end of your life, 40 years of work. So I guess the skills that you will give them now will be for immediate employment, but not survive all over. I think universities, when they think about making students learn how to learn, basic thing. That's what I believe we should do, plus the basic skills for the job.
Ma'am, important comments. Just when I've got two people over here I'm going to see, but just anyone here from a private university that would like to speak up? Good. I'm going to come to you after these two then. Perhaps Kingsley first and then the gentleman at the back.
Okay, fine. Kingsley Bolton, Nanyang Technological University. And that's not a sentence. And I think, by the way, my 5 sentences, I think Nigel, he's disappeared. I think he had about 12, I was counting. And Kevin, you've had about 537.
You teach English, not mathematics.
So, you know, I'm moving up to my 5 sentences now. Actually, I was going to keep quiet, but I was moved to comment because there seem to be so many arguments in favor of the motion. And the problem with that is we do have the word only. And there have been some good arguments from the audience, but the two speakers in favor of the motion took a line of argumentation that argued this case on the grounds of employability. And of course, the arguments against this are so many, as was mentioned by the opposition, not least the fact that at the core of the university, the research university agenda is the investigation of knowledge, the expansion of knowledge, the creation of new knowledge and new industries, and the creation of employers. The creation of graduates who leave university and start up their own businesses, start up their own enterprises, and employ people. If we reduce ourselves to vocational training universities, of which there are many and they do a good job, I'm afraid that the universities will decline in importance throughout the whole world. We're stuck with the motion as it is, and the word only, I'm afraid, we haven't been persuaded by the proponents of the motion, and I would urge the audience on intellectual to oppose the motion.
Kim, ring the bell, please. Will you ring the bell many times?
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Kingsley. Kingsley and I used to work together. He's now in NTU in Singapore, so if you wish to be on the receiving end of another of Kingsley's missives, just visit him in NTU. Okay, sir.
I'm John Davies from Sarakam University, Thailand, and I would like to speak from the perspective of employers. I come from a background of 5 years of banking with Bank of America and 15 years of export work, international export, and I humbly submit to this august crowd that we do not know what we do in new graduates. We take educated guesses, we try our best, and then we specialize train from then on. And the bad trade-off of that is that while we're specialized training our people, our graduates, we lose a lot of opportunities. We need the universities to look to the future for us, to help us do that, and to provide people who are also forward-thinking. Thank you.
Thank you. Some very wise words there, I think. Yeah, and a lot of support for that view around the room. The gentleman from the private university.
I'm from India. I belong to a private university. What I mean is we should not see that university and industry are the enemy. Now it is high time that both are, but the marriage is not done. So it is let us the marriage done between the university and academia. If it is required that we can, the teacher, we are teaching in that university, we put the proposal to the academia in industry, and both can collaboratively work to change the society in the era of globalization. Now let us take the example of CSR, corporate social responsibility. The industry who are employing our graduates, they are also having some responsibility for the society. Microsoft, Google, and big company, they are doing a lot of contribution to the society. They are spending money for the deprived class. They are opening schools, hospitals. What are they doing? So why we should they both have the different segment of the society, but both are having the responsibility in the society.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that comment. And my colleague from International Academy of Business in Kazakhstan, President of IAB.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Now it's not International Academy of Business, now it's Almaty Management University,
I'm sorry.
Kazakhstan. It's okay. I wanted oppose, but not just oppose. I wanted oppose to other oppose. I'm not a part of this 72, because university should not only produce graduates that employers will want, not a want, because they will study for 5 years. After that, they will want. It's the first part of my to oppose. But I have second part, my to oppose. Because universities should not only produce graduates, they should produce research, they should produce public goods, and they should produce talents that employers want. Thank you.
Thank you, Asselbeck. I'm going to take one more comment, then we're going to have a vote. This gentleman here at the front, sorry, sir, I'll let, I know, this gentleman here.
Thank you very much. The debate, the question is very interesting. First, I'm Dr. Karbash from UA University. As my colleague said here, the only problem is having the only there. I'll share with you an experience we had in our university. We graduate students. Some of them, they join the public sector. Some of them, they join the private sector. Some of them, they start up their own companies. So we equip them with the skills to succeed. And that's, I think, the goal of the university, to equip the students or the graduates with the basic fundamental skills so they can progress in their life.
Thank you. Very quick comment from you, because I don't want to say no. I want you to have the opportunity to this gentleman. Last comment, then we're going to go to a vote.
Well, my name is Edwin Chang. I'm the Dean of the Faculty of Business, the Hong Kong Polytechnic University. Actually, I cannot see why anybody would oppose this statement, because the key word is employers. So I echo my colleague's CK's point. Employers to me means all potential employers as well as the present employers. A generalization of that is, so I think universities should only produce graduates that are responsible, educated individuals who will contribute to the continuing of the civilization of mankind. So no one can oppose it.
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you very much. How much did you have to pay these guys to come and speak up in support? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the time has come. I was going to go back to my colleagues here and give them a few moments, but coffee is beckoning. It's been a very lively debate. Thank you all for your contribution. The time has come for you to re-vote. And some of you are doing it already, so please press your buttons and let's see how open-minded you are. We had 163 responses earlier. Let's see if we get more or less. What? Oh, look, more people have turned up, those that were out late last night. 186, right, polling is now closed. And let's see if you've got open minds and there's been any change. Remember, oh yes, well, I have to say, a Pyrrhic victory to to my colleagues here. They've actually persuaded a good proportion of you to support the motion. Whilst they have still lost, and the opposers, I applaud you for your victory. I have to say, you've proved that you do have an open mind, although my own personal view would certainly be with the opposers on this one. But, and actually, I must say, this is a great academic exercise because I don't know what any of these four people think about this. They probably, some of them are arguing completely against what they actually believe. But that's a fantastic learning exercise of the type that you were talking about earlier. You try to give people the skills to make it through life. Before we go, there's a lucky draw from Tuming Technologies. You must return your clicker. It is entirely useless without the whole system. Yeah, you can't use it as a mobile phone. You can't send text messages with it, however hard you try. So when you drop it back later on before going to coffee, could you drop your name cards in because there's a lucky draw. So you drop the clicker in, you drop your name card, and you win a full polling set of clickers and receivers. So you can use them back at your university, which if you don't already have them, I would have thought is quite a good prize. And those sensible people amongst you will drop lots of name cards in instead of just one. You see, that's the sort of thing you learn at university. Finally, I would like to arrange to give a gift. I've been asked by Taipei Medical University to give a gift. Liang Yo, are you here? With the gifts, I was told to stop at the end by Liang Yo. I'm putting you on the spot, of Taipei Medical University, so that gifts could be given to the four presenters. Well, he's not here, so guys, I'll chase him for you, and you'll get your gifts over coffee. I'm now going to hand over to Nigel, but before I do, thanks to all of you for making this such an interesting session. And do come to Maple in Doha in May, when we're going to have 2 of these in the Maple program. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Kevin. Thanks to all the speakers. That's a fantastic event as ever to liven things up. I just have a very brief housekeeping announcement before we close for coffee. There is this evening at 7 p.m. A launch of the 2014 Arab University Rankings. At 7 p.m. just next door. There is a dinner reception sponsored by UAE University, but it is by ticket only, so there are only limited numbers of places. If you would like to attend, Ashwin, if you wave your arm, if you would like to attend, could you just go to the booth where Ashwin is, and he'll issue tickets on a first-come, first-served basis. Okay? Many thanks. Enjoy your coffee break. Good job. Yeah, it's very well put. We was all going the other way for a while. Kevin kind of skewed mine, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Well, actually, yeah, no, my son's not.
Oh,